The massive crystal dome stretched endlessly above David Reed as he walked toward the center of the Galactic Council chambers. His footsteps echoed in the vast space filled with creatures from across the galaxy. Some floated in containment fields, others perched on crystalline platforms, and a few massive beings required entire sections of the amphitheater to accommodate their size. David had prepared for this moment for months. Earth's first contact with galactic civilization had been brief and formal, but now came the real test. Humanity was requesting membership in the Galactic Council, the governing body that had maintained peace across the galaxy for over 3 million years. The Prime Counselor, a being called Thex from the Altarian Empire, raised his forearms for silence. His blue-scaled face showed what humans might interpret as amusement, though David knew better than to assume alien expressions matched human emotions. "Representatives of the galaxy," Thex announced, his voice translated into thousands of languages simultaneously. "We gather today to consider the petition of the species calling themselves humans. They come from a world they call Earth, located in what we classify as Sector 7719 of the Outer Rim." A wave of chittering, buzzing, and harmonic sounds filled the chamber. David recognized some of it as laughter, though the sounds came from vocal cords, mandibles, and resonating chambers that had evolved on dozens of different worlds. "Let us examine the credentials of these humans," continued Thex. "Their planet formed approximately 4.6 billion years ago. Their species evolved roughly 300,000 years ago. They achieved what they call civilization a mere 12,000 years ago." The laughter grew louder. A towering insectoid creature from the Krythek Collective clicked its mandibles in rapid succession, a sound that translated as extreme amusement. "Honored Council," the creature said, "my species has maintained detailed records for over 2 million years. We have watched stars be born, mature, and die. We have seen entire solar systems form and dissolve. These humans speak of achievements that span less time than it takes for our queens to reach full maturity." David felt heat rise in his cheeks, but maintained his composure. The briefing materials had warned him about this reaction. Every species in the galaxy considered humanity to be essentially infants on the cosmic scale, being made of what appeared to be living crystal rose from its platform. The shard singer Vel, representative of the Petra Collective, resonated with harmonics that made the chamber's walls vibrate. "Young ones," the translation rendered Vel's communication, "we have cities that are older than your entire species. The Petra Collective has maintained the same governmental structure for 1.8 million years. We have philosophical debates that have continued uninterrupted for longer than your planet has supported complex life." "Indeed," added another voice, this one from a gaseous being contained in a shimmering field. The Nebula Lords existed as sentient clouds of interstellar matter, and their representative pulsed with colors that indicated mild condescension. "We have explored every corner of this galaxy. We have cataloged over 47 million species, witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, and maintained the peace that allows all of us to gather here today." David stepped forward, his simple blue diplomatic uniform stark against the elaborate displays of the alien delegates. "Honored representatives, we understand that humanity is young by galactic standards. We do not claim to match your experience or wisdom. We come seeking to learn, to contribute what we can, and to take our place as peaceful members of the galactic community." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The chamber erupted in what could only be described as cosmic derision. Creatures that had existed for millions of years, that had seen the birth and death of stars, that had accumulated knowledge beyond human comprehension, found the idea of learning from humanity absurd. A reptilian being from the Saurian hegemony lowered its massive head toward David. "Little human, my species ruled vast interstellar empires when your sun was still a cloud of cosmic dust. We have archaeological evidence of civilizations that rose, flourished, and fell to dust millions of years before your solar system even existed. The Ethmori," called out another delegate, "have maintained continuous historical records for Over 4 million years. We have documentation of species that evolved, achieved spaceflight, built galactic empires, and went extinct, all before your planet had cooled enough to support liquid water. David felt the weight of eons pressing down on him. These beings spoke casually of time frames that made human history seem like a brief flicker. The oldest human civilizations, the pyramids of Egypt, the cities of Mesopotamia, were younger than some of the individual delegates in this chamber. "What could you possibly offer us?" asked Dex, his forearms spreading wide. "We have spent millions of years perfecting the arts of governance, philosophy, science, and culture. We have technologies that can reshape matter at the quantum level, harness the energy of entire stars, and manipulate the very fabric of space-time. We understand principles of existence that your species cannot even conceptualize," added the Shardsinger Vel. "We have explored dimensions beyond your mathematical understanding. We have achieved harmony between billions of species across countless worlds." The gaseous nebula lord pulsed with what the translator rendered as gentle pity. "Young humans, you have barely learned to leave your single world. You know nothing of the complexities of managing galactic civilization. You understand nothing of the delicate balance required to maintain peace between species with radically different biologies, psychologies, and evolutionary histories." David listened to the cascade of dismissals, each one reinforcing humanity's position as cosmic children stumbling into a universe run by their elders. The delegates spoke of achievements that spanned geological ages, of wisdom accumulated across the rise and fall of entire stellar formations. "Perhaps," suggested a delegate from the Vorthan sphere, "these humans should return to their world and develop for another million years or so. Then, when they have something meaningful to contribute, they may petition us again." The chamber filled with approving sounds from dozens of species. The consensus was clear: humanity was too young, too inexperienced, too limited in understanding to join the galactic community as equals. But David had one more card to play. As the laughter and dismissals continued around him, he spoke quietly, his voice somehow carrying across the vast chamber. "You speak of age and wisdom," he said, his words causing a gradual hush to fall over the assembly. "But perhaps there are different ways to measure both." The silence that followed was pregnant with curiosity. Something in David's tone, something ancient and knowing, caused even the most dismissive delegates to pause and listen. "What do you mean, young human?" asked Dex, his forearms folding across his chest. David smiled, an expression that somehow seemed older than his years. "I mean that sometimes the youngest among us carry the oldest memories." The chamber remained silent, waiting for elaboration that would not come. David had planted the seed of doubt, the first crack in the galactic assumption that humanity was. As young as it appeared, the vote to deny Earth's membership was unanimous. But as the delegates began to disperse, many found themselves thinking about the human's final words. There had been something in his voice, something that suggested depths. Beneath the surface of humanity's apparent youth, none of them could have imagined how deep those depths truly ran. The frozen ground of Siberia cracked under the weight of the drilling equipment as Professor Ann Watson supervised the excavation of what appeared to be humanity's most significant archaeological discovery. The site had been discovered by accident, when a mining operation uncovered metallic fragments buried beneath layers of permafrost that had remained frozen for millions of years. Daden wiped sweat from her brow despite the sub-zero temperature the heating units around the dig site created. A small bubble of warmth, but the magnitude of what they were uncovering sent chills through her that had nothing to do with the weather. "The dating results are back," called Dr. Kim Foster from the mobile laboratory trailer. She emerged holding a tablet, her expression troubled. "Anne, you need to see this." Anne walked over, her boots crunching on the frozen ground. The fragment they had submitted for analysis lay on the table, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly sheen that seemed to shift colors depending on the viewing angle. "What does it say?" Anne asked, though she could already read the confusion on Kim's face. 65 million years old, Kim replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've run the test 7 times using different methods. Carbon dating, quantum. decay analysis, crystalline structure examination. They all give the same result, and stared at the fragment. It was clearly artificial, composed of materials that shouldn't have existed on Earth during the Cretaceous period. The surface bore intricate patterns that seemed to writhe and shift when viewed directly, displaying symbols that looked almost like writing but in no language known to human history. "This is impossible," Anne muttered. 65 million years ago, the most advanced life on Earth was dinosaurs. There were no tool-using species, no civilization, no technology. "I know," Kim said, "but the evidence is undeniable. This fragment was created by an advanced technological civilization that existed on Earth during the late Cretaceous period." Word of the discovery spread quickly through the archaeological community. Within days, teams from universities around the world were requesting access to the site. The implications were staggering. If the dating was accurate, it meant that Earth had been home to an advanced civilization millions of years before humans had even evolved. But the discovery that changed everything came when the news reached the Galactic Council's Earth monitoring station. The alien observers, who had been watching human development with mild interest since first contact, suddenly took notice of the archaeological dig in Siberia. Dr. Zenth of the Altarian Archaeological Institute arrived on Earth within a week, accompanied by a team of specialists from various galactic civilizations. The blue-scaled alien's 4 eyes examined the fragment with instruments that made human technology look primitive by comparison. "This cannot be accurate," Dr. Zenth said, his voice carrying the weight of millions of years of archaeological experience. "Earth was classified as a developing world during this period. Our galactic surveys from that era show no signs of advanced civilization." And watched as the alien scientist ran test after test, each one confirming what human analysis had already revealed. The fragment was genuinely ancient, genuinely artificial, and genuinely from Earth. "Dr. Zenth," Anne said carefully, "what do your instruments tell you about the materials used in this artifact?" The Altarian's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep concentration. "The quantum signature is ... troubling. The materials used in this fragment match construction techniques from what we call the predecessor era." The predecessor era? A time before the current galactic civilizations rose to prominence. "We have found ruins scattered across the galaxy, remnants of civilizations that existed when the universe was younger, when the stars were closer together and faster than light travel was easier to achieve." Kim leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her awe. "Are you saying this fragment is from one of these predecessor civilizations?" "That would be impossible," Dr. Zenth replied. "The predecessors vanished long before your solar system was considered capable of supporting complex life. Besides, their technology, while advanced, was distinctly alien. This fragment ... He paused, running another scan. "This fragment shows design principles that are almost familiar." More alien specialists arrived over the following days. The insectoid Krathek brought their expertise in biometal analysis. The crystalline Petra collective contributed their knowledge of quantum archaeology. The gaseous nebula lords offered their understanding of temporal mechanics. Each group confirmed the same impossible conclusion. The fragment was genuinely ancient, created by a civilization that had existed on Earth during the Cretaceous period. But more disturbing was the growing consensus about the identity of that civilization. The genetic markers embedded in the biometal components. Dr. Zenth explained to the assembled team. "They're not from any known predecessor species. They're not from any known alien species at all. Then what are they from?" Anne asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer. "They're human," Dr. Zenth said quietly. "According to our most advanced analysis, this artifact was created by beings genetically identical to modern humans." The silence that followed was profound, and felt the world shift beneath her feet as the implications sank in. If the analysis was correct, then beings identical to modern humans had created advanced technology on Earth 65 million years ago. "That's impossible," Kim said. "Humans didn't exist 65 million years ago. We evolved from primates that didn't appear until millions of years later. Nevertheless, Dr. Zenth said, the evidence is conclusive. Whatever created this artifact shared your genetic template exactly. The discovery prompted an immediate expansion of the excavation. Teams worked around the clock, uncovering more fragments, more artifacts, all bearing the same impossible age and the same genetic signatures. Each discovery pushed the timeline of human presence on Earth further into the past. The most significant find came when they uncovered what appeared to be a complete device, roughly the size of a human hand, covered in the same shifting symbols as the first fragment. When Anne touched it, the device activated, projecting a holographic display that showed star charts unlike anything in human astronomy. These are galactic coordinates, Dr. Zenth said, his voice filled with wonder. But they're for stellar positions as they existed millions of years ago. The stars have moved since then, but these charts show their ancient positions with perfect accuracy. The device continued to project images, vast cities that spanned continents, massive ships that traveled between stars and beings that looked exactly like modern humans but dressed in materials that seemed to bend light around them. This is documentation of a human civilization that existed when the galaxy was young, Dr. Zenth concluded. A civilization that was already ancient when the current galactic powers were still primitive species crawling in primordial oceans. Anne stared at the holographic projections, watching scenes of human achievement that predated the rise of every known galactic civilization. The beings in the images moved with purpose and wisdom, their technology making even current galactic capabilities look rudimentary. If this is true, Anne said slowly, then humanity isn't young at all. We're ancient beyond imagination. But that raises an even more troubling question, Dr. Zenth replied. If humans were so advanced millions of years ago, what happened to them? Why did they disappear? And why did humans appear again on Earth as apparently primitive beings? The questions hung in the air like a challenge to everything both species thought they knew about history, evolution, and the nature of intelligence itself. The discovery in Siberia had revealed that humanity's place in the galaxy was far more complex than anyone had imagined. As the teams worked through the night, uncovering more evidence of humanity's ancient past, one thing became clear: the beings who had laughed at Earth's youth had been wrong about more than just humanity's age. They had been wrong about the fundamental nature of galactic history itself. The young species seeking membership in the Galactic Council might actually be the forgotten ancestors of galactic civilization itself. The research facility hummed with activity as Dr. Michael Torres monitored the brain scans of volunteer MLU. The young graduate student lay in the medical chamber, electrodes attached to her head while the ancient artifact rested on her chest. The device had been excavated from the Siberian site just days earlier, and its quantum resonance patterns were unlike anything seen before. Neural activity is increasing, Dr. Torres reported to the assembled team of human and alien scientists. The quantum field generated by the artifact is interacting with specific regions of Emma's brain. Dr. Zenth observed the readings with his 4 eyes, each one focused on different aspects of the data. The patterns are extraordinary. The artifact appears to be activating dormant neural pathways that shouldn't exist according to your species' evolutionary history. Emma's eyes moved rapidly beneath her closed lids, and her breathing became deeper, more rhythmic. The brain scan showed areas lighting up that typically remained inactive during normal sleep or meditation. "I can see them," Emma whispered, her voice taking on a distant quality. "The great ships that sail between stars. They move through space like leviathans, carrying cities within their hulls." Dr. Torres exchanged glances with Dr. Zenth. The alien scientist's instruments were detecting quantum fluctuations that matched the artifact's signature coming directly from Emma's neural activity. "Tell us what you see," Dr. Torres said gently. Emma's expression became peaceful, almost reverent. "We were the Cedars. We traveled the galaxy when it was young, when the stars were closer and the paths between worlds were shorter. We found worlds where life was beginning and we helped it grow." "Who were the Cedars?" Dr. Zenth asked, his voice carefully neutral. We were, Emma replied, her voice carrying an ancient certainty. Humanity, we were old when the galaxy was young. We planted the seeds of life on 1,000 worlds, guided evolution on 10,000 more. The monitoring equipment registered massive spikes in Emma's neural activity as she continued to speak. The words came from her lips, but the knowledge they contained was far beyond anything a graduate student should possess. The Altarians were our students, Emma continued. We taught them mathematics and philosophy when they were still struggling to understand the motion of planets. The Krythek learned biometallurgy from us when they were barely capable of working stone. Dr. Zenth's 4 eyes widened in recognition. The mathematical principles Emma was describing matched the foundational theorems of Altarian science, theories that his species claimed to have discovered independently millions of years ago. The Petra Collective, Emma said, her voice now carrying harmonics that shouldn't have been possible for human vocal cords. We showed them how to sing matter into new shapes, how to resonate with the quantum frequencies that hold crystals together. The crystalline being who had joined the research team, Shardsinger Vel, resonated with frequencies that indicated profound shock. The techniques Emma described were the most closely guarded secrets of the Petra Collective, passed down through millions of years of tradition. Impossible, Vel harmonized. These are the sacred songs of our people. No outsider knows the quantum frequencies required for matter shaping. But Emma continued, her words flowing like an ancient river carrying memories across eons. The Nebula Lords were our greatest challenge. Teaching consciousness to exist in gaseous form, showing sentient clouds how to maintain coherence across vast distances. We worked with them for centuries to perfect the techniques. The gaseous being contained in the shimmering field pulsed, with colors that the translation systems couldn't interpret. The emotional resonance was so intense that it overwhelmed the aliens' communication. Matrix, more volunteers joined the experiment over the following days. Each human exposed to the artifacts began experiencing similar memories. Dr. Patricia Santos, a linguist, found herself speaking in languages that predated known galactic history. Dr. James Wilson, a physicist, began drawing equations that described quantum mechanics in ways that surpassed current understanding. The memories are consistent across all subjects, Dr. Torres reported to the international scientific community. Different individuals are accessing different aspects of the same ancient knowledge base. Dr. Zenth had called for additional alien specialists to observe the phenomenon. Representatives from dozens of species arrived to witness humans describing the deepest secrets of their civilizations, knowledge that had supposedly been developed independently over millions of years. The most shocking session came when Patricia Santos entered a deep memory state while connected to multiple artifacts simultaneously. Her voice changed, becoming deeper, more resonant, carrying an authority that seemed to span cosmic ages. We were the gardeners of the galaxy, she said, her words causing the monitoring equipment to register impossible energy readings. We arose when the universe was young, when the cosmic background radiation was still warm and the first generation of stars were being born. How long ago? Dr. Zenth asked, though he seemed afraid of the answer. We achieved consciousness when your species were still cosmic dust. We built our first cities when the galaxy was half its current size. We learned to travel between stars when the distances were manageable, when the cosmic expansion hadn't yet stretched the universe to its current vastness. The alien delegates listened in stunned silence as Patricia continued to recount humanity's ancient history. She spoke of technologies that could reshape matter at the quantum level, of ships that could travel not just faster than light but outside the normal flow of time itself. We discovered that consciousness was not bound by biology, Patricia explained. We learned to exist as pure information, to transfer our awareness between bodies, to live for millions of years while our understanding grew ever deeper. But why did this civilization disappear? Asked a delegate from the Saurian hegemony. If humans were so advanced, what happened to them? Patricia's expression became filled with ancient sadness. We grew tired. The responsibility of shepherding every developing species, of making decisions that affected the evolution of entire worlds, became too heavy to bear. We had become so advanced that we had lost touch with the simple joys of existence. The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. An entire galactic civilization had voluntarily abandoned its power and knowledge because the burden of responsibility had become too great. So we chose to forget, Patricia continued. We scattered our essence across time and space, seeding our genetic material on countless worlds. We became mortal again, limited again, young again. We chose to experience the wonder of discovery, rather than the weight of eternal wisdom. Dr. Zenth's instruments detected energy signatures that were affecting the quantum structure of space itself around Patricia. Whatever memories she was accessing, they were somehow changing the fundamental nature of reality in the immediate vicinity. "We are you," Patricia said, her gaze seeming to look directly through the assembled alien delegates. "Your mathematics, your technologies, your philosophies, they all grew from seeds we planted in your ancient past. You are our children, our students, our legacy." The words hit the alien scientists like a physical blow. Every species present had built their civilization on principles they believed they had discovered independently. To learn that their fundamental knowledge was essentially inherited from their young neighbors was profoundly disturbing. "But we are also us," Patricia continued, her voice becoming gentler. "We are the children of our own ancient selves, rediscovering the universe with fresh eyes. We are both the teachers and the students, the ancestors and the descendants." As the session ended and Patricia returned to normal consciousness, the assembled scientists struggled to process what they had witnessed. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not just ancient. They were the source from which galactic civilization itself had grown, but more importantly, they had chosen to become young again, to experience the universe as students rather than teachers. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready to learn this truth about its own origins. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species demanded explanations, verification, and answers to questions that challenged the very foundation of galactic civilization. The discovery of humanity's ancient origins had sent shockwaves through every major power in the galaxy. Ambassador David Reed found himself in the surreal position of addressing the same assembly that had dismissed humanity as cosmic children just months earlier. Now these same beings looked at him with expressions that ranged from awe to fear to desperate curiosity. Prime Counselor Thex struggled to maintain order as delegates shouted questions in dozens of languages. His forearms gestured frantically as he tried to process the magnitude of what had been revealed. "The evidence is undeniable," Dr. Zenth announced to the assembly, his voice carrying the weight of rigorous scientific analysis. Quantum dating, genetic analysis, technological assessment all confirm that an advanced human civilization existed millions of years ago. The Saurian delegate, whose species prided themselves on their 4-million-year history, stood to address the chamber. "Chief Historian Rank has made a disturbing discovery. Our most ancient texts, written in our earliest language, contain detailed descriptions of beings they called the Eternal Ones." The massive reptilian being's voice carried a tremor of uncertainty. "These Eternal Ones appeared during our transition from hunter-gatherers to an agricultural civilization. They taught us crop rotation, animal husbandry, and the basic principles of governance. The descriptions match human physiology exactly. Similar revelations followed from species across the galaxy. The Krythek presented evidence that their biometallurgy techniques, the foundation of their technology, had been taught to them by visitors who matched human descriptions. The Petra Collective discovered that their matter-shaping abilities were based on principles that appeared in their oldest historical records as gifts from mysterious teachers. The Nebula Lords, announced the gaseous being's representative, have found references in our deepest memory banks to guides who taught us consciousness manipulation, beings of solid matter who somehow understood our gaseous nature better than we did ourselves. Each revelation built upon the previous ones, creating a picture of ancient humanity as galactic teachers and guides. The proud civilizations that had dismissed Earth's youth now faced the reality that their greatest achievements were built on foundations laid by their supposed INFERIORs. Dr. Zenth had been working with teams across the galaxy to verify the recovered memories. Archaeological sites are being re-examined on hundreds of worlds. Everywhere we look, we find evidence of human influence that we previously attributed to natural development or unknown factors. The quantum technologies that enabled faster-than-light travel, the mathematical principles that form the basis of galactic commerce, even the fundamental concepts of interspecies cooperation, all showed signs of human design and teaching. "We taught them everything," MLU said during her testimony to the council. The young woman had become the primary conduit for accessing the ancient memories, her neural patterns somehow more compatible with the quantum resonance of the artifacts. "Not as conquerors," Emma continued, her voice carrying the weight of eons. "Not as rulers seeking to dominate. We were teachers, philosophers, guides. We believed that if enough civilizations could be nurtured to wisdom, the galaxy would no longer need our constant guidance." The revelation that struck deepest was the discovery of the archive. Deep beneath the surface of a moon in the Altarian system, Dr. Zenth's team had uncovered a vast crystalline structure that had remained hidden for millions of years. The quantum locks recognized human genetic signatures, Dr. Zenth reported. MLU's touch opened chambers that had been sealed since before most current civilizations existed. The archive contained the complete history of the ancient human civilization. Holographic records showed cities that spanned continents, technologies that could reshape solar systems, and knowledge that made current galactic science look primitive by comparison. "We were not just ancient," Emma explained as she accessed the deeper files. "We were the first truly galactic civilization. We arose when the universe was young, when stellar formation was more active and the distances between habitable worlds were smaller. The records showed humanity's expansion across the galaxy, not through conquest but through exploration and teaching. They had encountered primitive species and helped them develop, sharing knowledge freely and patiently guiding civilizations from their earliest stages to galactic awareness. We spent millions of years learning, growing, expanding our understanding of existence itself," Emma continued. "We achieved immortality, transcended physical limitations, and gained knowledge that approached the fundamental nature of reality." The holographic displays showed humans who had evolved beyond current recognition, beings of pure energy who could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, who had unlocked the secrets of consciousness itself. But knowledge without growth becomes stagnation, Emma said, her voice heavy with ancient understanding. Wisdom without the possibility of error becomes mere calculation. We had become so advanced that we had lost the capacity for wonder. The most profound revelation came from the archive's deepest files. The record showed the great scattering, humanity's deliberate decision to abandon their galactic civilization and spread themselves across time and space as simpler beings. "We chose to forget," Emma explained. "We deliberately fragmented our consciousness, scattered our genetic material across countless worlds, and accepted mortality and limitation as the price of rediscovering joy in existence." The alien delegates struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what they were hearing. A civilization so advanced it could reshape reality itself had voluntarily chosen to become primitive again, to experience the universe as mortal beings rather than godlike entities. "The process was not random," Emma continued. "We carefully selected worlds where our descendants could develop naturally, where they could rediscover the principles we had learned but through their own experience and growth. The implications were staggering. Earth had been one of these selected worlds, seeded with human genetic material and allowed to develop naturally. But the same process had occurred across the galaxy, with human genetics forming the foundation for countless other species. "You are all our children," Emma said, her gaze encompassing the entire assembly. "Your mathematics, your technologies, your philosophies, they grew from seeds we planted in your ancient past. But you are also yourselves unique beings who have taken those seeds and grown them into something beautiful and new. The silence that followed was profound. Representatives from civilizations that had prided themselves on millions of years of independent development now faced the reality that their greatest achievements were evolutionary developments of ancient human knowledge. But we are also your equals, Emma continued. We chose to become young again, to experience the universe with fresh eyes and open hearts. We are both the teachers and the students, the ancestors and the descendants. The revelation that humanity had voluntarily abandoned godlike power to become mortal again was perhaps the most shocking aspect of the entire discovery. It suggested a wisdom that transcended mere knowledge, an understanding that growth and discovery were more valuable than unlimited power. As the council session continued, the fundamental nature of galactic civilization was being rewritten. The young species that had been dismissed as cosmic children were revealed to be the forgotten parents of galactic culture itself. The question now was how the galaxy would respond to this truth about its own origins and whether the descendants of the ancient teachers could work together to build something even greater than what had come before. The atmosphere in the Galactic Council chambers had transformed completely from the first day humanity had petitioned for membership. Where once there had been dismissive laughter, now there was respectful silence as Ambassador David Reed prepared to address the assembly for what might be the final time. The revelation of humanity's ancient origins had created a crisis that went beyond politics or diplomacy. Civilizations that had defined themselves by their age and accumulated wisdom now faced the reality that their fundamental achievements were evolutionary developments of knowledge, originally discovered by the species they had considered cosmic children. We understand the difficulty this revelation has caused, David began, his voice carrying a new authority that came from representing not just a young species seeking membership, but the descendants of the galaxy's original teachers. But we want to make something absolutely clear. We are not the same beings who once guided the galaxy. The recovered memories had revealed the complete truth. Ancient humanity had not simply disappeared or been destroyed. They had made a conscious choice to fragment their consciousness, to scatter their essence across time and space, and to experience existence as mortal beings rather than immortal gods. We are their descendants, their chosen legacy, David continued. But we are also genuinely new beings, experiencing the universe with fresh perspectives and open hearts. We are both ancient and young, both teachers and students. Prime Counselor Vex, whose species had been among the most dismissive of humanity's initial petition, now spoke with careful respect. Some among my people believe you should resume your ancient role. They argue that the galaxy needs the wisdom of the original teachers, that we should ask you to guide us as you once did. And others? David asked, though he could see the answer in the body language of various delegates. Others fear that your return to authority would diminish our own achievements, reduce us to eternal students rather than independent civilizations. Vex admitted. They worry that knowing the truth about our origins somehow lessens the value of what we have accomplished. Dr. Emma Liu had been invited to address the council as the primary human conduit for the ancient memories. Her presence was both comforting and unsettling to the alien delegates. When she spoke, her words carried the weight of eons, but her youth reminded them that she was also genuinely human in the modern sense. We chose to forget for profound reasons, Emma said, her voice resonating with ancient wisdom. Unlimited. Knowledge without the possibility of growth becomes stagnation. Power without the chance of failure becomes meaningless. We had achieved everything possible within our paradigm of existence. The crystalline shard singer Vel resonated with harmonics. That indicated deep curiosity. But surely some of the ancient knowledge should be preserved. The technologies that could benefit all species, the solutions to problems that plague us still. Emma's expression became gentle but firm. The knowledge was never truly lost. It lives in the civilizations you have built, the principles you have developed, the wisdom you have gained through your own struggles and discoveries. We did not simply give you completed technologies, We gave you the foundations upon which to build your own greatness. Dr. Zenth, who had become something of a bridge between human and alien perspectives during the investigation, offered a different viewpoint. Perhaps the question is not whether humanity should resume their ancient role, but how we can all work together as equals, each contributing our unique strengths to the galaxy's future. The debate that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Some species wanted humanity to reclaim their position as galactic teachers, believing that the original wisdom was needed to solve current problems. Others feared human dominance, worried that accepting humanity's ancient authority would reduce their own civilizations to secondary status. A few radical voices suggested that the knowledge should be suppressed entirely, that the galaxy was better off not knowing about humanity's role in its development. They argued that the truth was too disruptive to the established order and could lead to the collapse of galactic civilization, but it was a young delegate from the Krythic Collective who offered the solution that would eventually transform galactic society. The insectoid being's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with excitement as she addressed the assembly. "We are all young," the delegate said, her translated voice carrying genuine enthusiasm. "Even the oldest among us are children compared to the age of the universe itself." The ancient humans understood this fundamental truth. They chose to become young again because youth brings growth, discovery, and the joy of learning. The observation struck at the heart of the debate. The ancient humans had possessed knowledge and power beyond current galactic comprehension, yet they had voluntarily chosen limitation and mortality. The wisdom in that choice was becoming clearer as the debate continued. "What if we stop thinking in terms of age and authority?" the Krythic delegate continued. "What if we recognize that every species, regardless of how long they have existed, has something unique to contribute to our collective understanding?" Dr. Emma Liu nodded, her expression showing approval for the direction of the conversation. "The ancient memories show us something important. Our ancestors did not rule the galaxy, they gardened it. They planted seeds of knowledge and then stepped back to allow each civilization to grow in its own unique way." Ambassador David Reed seized the moment to propose what would become known as the Heritage Protocols. "We propose a new framework for galactic cooperation. The recovered knowledge from the archive should be shared freely with all species, but not as commands from ancient authorities. Instead, it should be offered as tools and insights that each civilization can adapt to their own needs and understanding." The proposal was radical in its simplicity. Rather than establishing humanity as galactic teachers or suppressing the ancient knowledge entirely, the Heritage Protocols would make the information available to all species while ensuring that no single civilization dominated the others. "The archive will become a galactic heritage site," David continued, "accessible to researchers from all species, managed cooperatively, and used for the benefit of everyone. Humanity will serve as facilitators and interpreters of the ancient knowledge, but only when requested, and always as partners rather than rulers." The debate continued for days as delegates consulted with their home governments and considered the implications of the proposed framework. The Heritage Protocols represented a fundamental shift in how galactic civilization would operate, moving from a hierarchy based on age and accumulated power to a cooperative network based on shared knowledge and mutual respect. The final vote was closer than expected, but the Heritage Protocols were eventually adopted by a significant majority. The ancient archive was declared a galactic heritage site, and MLU and the other humans who had recovered the memories became the archive's guardians, helping other species understand the knowledge while ensuring it was used responsibly. As the council session concluded, Ambassador David Reed found himself approached by delegates from dozens of species. The laughter that had once greeted Earth's supposed youth had been replaced by something far more valuable: genuine curiosity, respect, and the promise of cooperation. Prime Counselor Thex approached David personally. His forearms spread in what David had learned was a gesture of deep respect among the Altarians. "Your species has given us a great gift," Thex said. "Not the ancient knowledge itself, but the wisdom to use it properly. We are all still learning, David replied. Ancient memories or not, we are all young beings trying to understand a universe that is vast beyond comprehension. The crystalline shard singer Vel resonated with harmonics that translated as profound gratitude. You could have used the knowledge to dominate us, to reclaim your position as our superiors. Instead, you chose to share it freely and work alongside. US as equals. Emma Liu, who had been listening to the conversations, added her perspective. That is the most important lesson from the ancient memories. True wisdom is not about accumulating power or knowledge for its own sake. It is about using what you know to help others grow and discover their own potential. The gaseous nebula. Lord pulsed with colors that indicated deep contemplation. Your ancestors understood something that we had forgotten in our pride. Age and knowledge mean nothing without the humility to continue learning and growing. As the delegates began to disperse, many were already making plans to visit the archive and begin incorporating the ancient knowledge into their own research and development. But more importantly, they were beginning to see each other differently. The revelation of humanity's ancient origins had shattered the rigid hierarchy that had defined galactic civilization for millions of years. In its place was emerging something new, a cooperative network of species that recognized the value of both ancient wisdom and fresh perspectives. The young beings who had once been dismissed as cosmic children were now partners in building a future that honored the past while embracing the possibilities of discovery. We are still young, David said to the assembled delegates as the session officially ended. All of us, regardless of how long our species have existed. And perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs. Not ancient wisdom ruling from above, but young minds working together to build something better than what came before. The ancient humans had chosen to become young again, to experience the wonder of discovery rather than the burden of eternal knowledge. Now their descendants, working alongside the civilizations they had once guided as students, would discover what new wonders a galaxy of young minds could achieve when they chose cooperation over competition, sharing over hoarding and growth, over stagnation. The laughter that had once dismissed humanity's youth had been replaced by something far more powerful, the sound of an entire galaxy choosing to embrace its collective potential for learning, growing, and becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. In the end, they had all been young, just not in the way anyone had originally expected.